name is Kaylee and welcome to my channel, Callie&Co. On my channel I talk about what it's like to create a career out of doing what you love. And today I want to talk about a topic that is really important to me because I believe that it's because of this that I was able to get to where I am now in my career. And that is called the entrepreneurial mindset. Everybody's talking about entrepreneurs these days. If it wasn't for entrepreneurs throughout history, we wouldn't be living the lives that we are today. We wouldn't have iPhones to carry around and Snapchat all our friends on if it wasn't for Steve Jobs and the inventors of Snapchat. There's a lot we can learn from entrepreneurs because they are people who take risks to solve problems in society. You know, whether you're starting your own business, still in college, graduated college and starting your career at a company, I believe that having an entrepreneurial mindset in everything that you can do can help you in your personal development, can help you in your professional development, and can really get you to where you want to be in your career. And so I'm just going to kind of talk about the specific things that I picked up through studying entrepreneurship that really helped me. The first thing that I learned when studying entrepreneurship was how to look at problems differently. When you're faced with a problem, it's not always going to be black and white. In fact, it's probably going to be like 50 plus shades of gray. There's a lot of different nuances that go into a problem, and by being able to take the time to really solve it, you'll be able to come up with a creative solution to it. Starting out in college, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I was just coming from graduating from high school where I really loved all of my art classes. I was an art student and I knew I wanted to be creative, but I wanted to turn that creativity into something more concrete for a career. And so I decided that I wanted to be a graphic designer. But I was faced with a problem because I didn't want to switch my major into graphic design because I would have had to stay a fifth year in school, so that didn't really sit well with me. Being an advertising major worked because it was still creative, but I couldn't get into any graphic design classes through my advertising major until junior year. At first, faced with this problem, I felt pretty stuck. I really didn't like the idea of deciding I wanted to be something, then having to wait 2 more years to see if I actually liked it or not. This is kind of how I first got introduced to entrepreneurship. I started working with student entrepreneurs, people who were starting their own businesses, had ideas for their own businesses, were just kind of trying things out, and I started designing logos for them and flyers and any other kind of promotional materials they needed, t-shirts. I would work with them and kind of help them with their branding and design. So by doing this, I was able to, learn the Adobe programs, learn my design programs, learn how I like to work, and just kind of keep practicing and developing my skill. And this really worked out for me, and soon I went from graphic design to photography and web design, and it was just like a really good way of learning. And that kind of brings me to the next thing that I think is inherent in having an entrepreneurial mindset, and that is the concept of learning fast and learning by doing. There's this thing called the Lean Startup Method that a lot of startups refer to and use, and basically the Lean Startup Method is all about building something, getting it out there. They really focus on this thing called the MVP, or the minimal viable product. Don't wait until something's perfect. Get it out there and learn from it. Learn what people have to say about it. Learn from if people like it or not, to keep moving forward to getting to your end goal. And this kind of applied to my work. I didn't wait until I was an amazing graphic designer to start designing logos. I was a beginner. People knew that. But by practicing and getting those and just getting things out there and starting to create things, I became better at what I was doing because I was learning. And the whole idea of learning fast and putting things out there does not come without risk. And one of the other things that an entrepreneurial mindset teaches you is to be okay with the idea of failing fast, because every time you fail, you're actually failing forward. And when I first started learning about this, when I first started learning about the fact that this was a value among, entrepreneurs, I was so confused, and I had such a hard time embracing that, because as somebody who wants to be successful, success and failure don't necessarily mix to me. It's kind of like one or the other, and I never thought in life that I wanted to be seen as a failure. And I still don't want to be seen as a failure, but I now recognize that there's a lot of things that can be learned from those experiences that you have that don't work out. For example, at one point my junior year in college, I was working on developing an app. I was really interested in how technology has changed our lives and changed the world, and this app was focused on incentivizing people to disconnect from their technology when they're together, put down their phones, and just kind of connect with each other and have meaningful conversations without being distracted. I had no tech background. I know my way around a computer, don't get me wrong, but I don't know how to code an app. I don't know the first place to start with that. And so that whole process was very interesting for me because I really applied a lot of entrepreneurial methods to trying to get that to work. I went out and talked to customers or talked to potential users of my app to get feedback. I talked to different mentors, and every week as I pursued that project, I learned more and more. And the thing was, the more I learned, the more I realized that what I was working on creating so hard wasn't working out. I didn't have the resources or the time or the ability to learn how to code an app and create it myself. And I just it was something people were interested in, but it wasn't something people thought they really needed that bad. And so it was just kind of like a project that fell through. And you could look at that as a failure because I had started out wanting to make an app and then I didn't, and there's no app. But that whole experience and process taught me more about myself, taught me more about how to solve problems, taught me more about how to create things in the world that actually deliver value to people. If I didn't have that experience, I wouldn't have had the confidence or the knowledge to get to where I am now in my career. When I had questions about something, it gave me the confidence to feel like I could go out and find those answers. And that kind of brings me to the next benefit, I think, of having an entrepreneurial mindset is that whenever you have questions, go and ask people and seek the answers and find them. Ask people for help. Find those people that have more experience than you, more knowledge than you in whatever you're trying to do and figure out, and ask them for their advice. Seek the answers because there are people out there and there are conversations to be had that can really help get you to where you need to go. And you don't have to constantly be in a state of like guessing what's going to work and what's not. You can go out and ask people and try new things and figure out what's going to work and what's not. So it's important to ask questions of other people, whether it's like peers, your customers, if you're starting your own business, or mentors. But another aspect of the entrepreneurial mindset that's really important is that it's always important to ask questions of yourself. After studying entrepreneurship, reading about what makes different entrepreneurs successful, and working with successful entrepreneurs in my own life, I realized that they all have this one thing in common, and that is that they're all really good at being self-reflective. They're really good at being able to take a 360-degree view of what they're working on and evaluate it for what's truly working, what's not working, and what can be better. And this can be a really hard thing if you're so attached to a project to kind of remove yourself from the situation and understand that even though you're working so hard, what you're doing might not always be the best thing for your project. In my own experience, this really came into play when I was freelancing full-time. It was really interesting for me because on one hand, it was something that I always wanted to do and always kind of saw myself doing. I wanted to run my own business. I wanted to work as a creative entrepreneur, and it was all good and it was a great learning experience. But there were certain things that really frustrated me about my experience as a full-time freelancer. And it was only by being self-reflective that I could really understand what was working about that and what wasn't, and if it aligned with my goals or not. For me, being a full-time freelancer right out of college, it worked for a little while, but I realized that wasn't necessarily what I wanted. I wanted to work for a business that I believed in, where I could learn better business practices, where I could be around different professionals that came from different backgrounds that I could learn from. That was a huge goal of mine that I wasn't getting from working full-time as a freelancer on my own. And so by being self-reflective throughout that whole process, I didn't get stuck trying to make the freelance thing happen. I understood that my goals had shifted from when I had started, and so I was able to keep moving forward and doing what I wanted to do. It doesn't matter if you're starting your own business or not. It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or not. An entrepreneurial mindset can help you in anything that you do in life because it really helps encourage you to take advantage of the opportunities that come your way. Don't get stuck when you're faced with problems. Solve them in a creative way. Don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of taking risks. It's all as long as you're learning and moving forward, you will get to where you need to be. So that's just my opinion and some of my experiences. But I do want to hear from you guys if you have any thoughts on this matter, whether you have started your own business or not, how that went, or whether you just see how any of these different aspects of the entrepreneurial mindset could apply in your life. I want to hear about it, so definitely comment below or reach out to me on Instagram. Any of those things, I want to hear about it. So thank you so much for watching this video. Definitely subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. So I hope that you guys have a great week, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye!